Missed an episode of your favorite podcast? Choose from over a decade of content in our archives, not just the latest episode. All free at gcnlive.com.
This is your call to action. Get prepared, America. Economy, survival, energy, disasters. This is USAPrepares.com. Informative radio, educational radio. Interact now by emailing instructor@USAPrepares.com or text at 434-390-7953. Class, please take your seats. Now, your instructor, Vincent Finelli.
Everyone all set, cocked, locked? Here we go. Your dial set correctly to USAPrepares.com. And we're broadcasting 2 hours from high atop the Missouri Ozark Mountains. I'd like to give you the call-in number if you're interested in joining with today's special broadcast. And we're going to be talking about solar power. A lot of information very quickly in the next 2 hours. So if you're considering installing, building, designing, or having someone help you implement solar power for your energy independence, you may call in, and we'll pay for the call. 866-582-9933. 866-582-9933. And you can always listen to this broadcast as well as others on a telephone listen line 24/7. And that number is 605-562-7727. 605-562-7727. And I'm delighted to be broadcasting today with Brandon Williams, CEO of IronEdison.com, and his engineering team. So there will be many of us broadcasting today in the next 2 hours. Welcome, Brandon Williams.
Hi, Vincent. Thank you again for having us back on the air. It is a pleasure to be here, and I'm really excited to be on the air here today with our entire system design team.
Yeah. So, class, when I call IronEdison.com, when I call that number, these are some of the engineers that I talk with. So when you call, these are some of the people who you'll be speaking with, and you get a chance to meet them on the air right here, right now. So, Brandon, would you please tell us who's with us today and what they do? Give us an introduction to who we're going to be learning from today in class.
Absolutely. So, I'm really excited to be introducing my entire team here today. I am the founder and lead system designer here at Iron Edison. But over the past 6 years, we've seen just incredible growth as the solar and battery backup market has expanded. The reason why we have been successful here is we have been able to join a large group of system designers who are passionate about solar energy, about battery backup, and who are always excited to help people learn and answer questions. So let me introduce the members of our team and system designers that will be presenting today. First, we'll be speaking with Rhodes Carter. Rhodes is going to be talking about a number of different system types that are commonly used. Next, we'll hear from Luke Simmons, who's a NABCEP certified system designer. He's going to be talking about incentives, tax credits, and the nickel iron battery. Then we'll hear from Timna Zemel, who has a background in grid tie solar and is now one of our most senior system designers at Iron Edison. Then we'll hear from Hunter Hendershot. Hunter is going to talk about some strategies for designing and purchasing the equipment so that everything works together. And then we're going to hear from Jim Vincent, who has an excellent background in construction management and is going to talk about some lessons learned and how to use your equipment as an investment and make some money by putting your equipment to work.
That sounds great. That sounds absolutely great. So, Brandon, would you like us to start with Rhodes Carter?
Let's jump right in here.
Okay, Rhodes, you and I have talked many times on the phone, and as a matter of fact, I believe one of my very first calls to ironedison.com was answered by you, and we had a great conversation. And to your credit, the reason we're here today is because you had so many answers to so many questions that, frankly, other companies that I called when I was doing my research didn't have the answers to. I had to be called back; they weren't available. The person didn't know the information, and you did. So I'm really glad that you and I had a chance to chat. So where would you like to start? Would you like to start with the different types of photovoltaic systems?
Yeah, let's do that, Vincent. Probably one of the biggest questions, or I guess probably the biggest misconceptions that people have when they want to go solar, quote unquote, is what type of options are out there. Probably 90% of the solar industry is what we call grid-tied solar systems. That's where you see solar panels on roofs in urban and suburban environments. The most common, again, type of solar system, but it's not ideal if you're, someone like the people in our class today who are looking to be self-sufficient and be able to take care of themselves if anything should happen. The big thing about grid-tied solar is its main goal is to offset your energy bill. That's what it does. That's it. The solar panels, when the sun's shining, it produces energy. That energy is going to feed the loads in your house. Any surplus energy is going to go backwards through your power meter, turning the meter backwards in what we call net metering. And by doing that, you build up a credit on a kilowatt hour credit, not necessarily dollars and cents credit. So you build up kilowatt hours credit, which then you use later in the day when the sun's not shining. And if designed properly, at the end of the year, which is usually these are billed on an annual basis, your power meter is right where it was a year ago, and you effectively have no power bill.
Okay. Now, I understand when I called our utility company, our cooperative, and I talked to their senior engineer, I said, so can I just hook this up and have it work? And he said, oh, no, you have to have a special meter. Now, there are two ways of doing it. Some meters measure forward and backward, meaning they can measure the electricity you're generating and the electricity you're consuming, and they net it out right in that one meter. But our electric utility company has two separate meters, and if you just hook it up without letting them know, you will actually be paying for the electricity you're generating. So you really need to know how your meters are set up, so that and you need to talk to these guys who are providing your electricity right now. And I'm sure you've seen the same thing.
Absolutely, yes. If you need to have the utility involved if you do a grid-tied solar system. Just as you said, they need to know that you're going to be pushing energy back to them so that you have the right meter in place so that you're not getting double billed. And also, every net metering arrangement is different from utility to utility in different states, counties, municipalities, and so forth. So, first step if you want to do something like that is check with your utility, see what options are available to you, how much paperwork and how many hoops you have to jump through in order to get that system going.
Yeah, and one thing that the reason they told me they used 2 meters rather than 1 meter, they could have bought. We all got smart meters in this area, and they said the reason that they wanted 2 meters was so that they could prove to their utility customers that here's how much you generated, because here's the meter that indicates what you're supplying, and then here's the other meter to indicate what you've consumed, and then we'll do a subtraction and figure out who owes who what, that kind of thing. And that was their logic, rather than having 1 meter with the built-in model to figure out what the net was at any point in time.
And that is a good way to do it. One of the numerous incentive programs that are out there is called Renewable Energy Credits, or RECs. And what that is, and long story short, you get financial compensation for all of the renewable energy that you produce, which is another good reason to have 2 meters like that. In fact, Brandon Williams at his home system, he has 2 meters just for that reason. The meter that's connected to the solar system, it registers every single kilowatt hour produced, regardless of where it's used. And he gets financial compensation in the form of renewable energy credits based on what that meter shows. And then his regular meter shows what is consumed, and then they do the math to figure out what his actual bill is.
Mm-hmm. And Let's talk about the most cost-effective system. Would that be the grid-tied?
Yes, grid-tied systems are definitely the most cost-effective, the most energy efficient as far as transitioning or transferring solar energy to usable energy. But one of the biggest misconceptions people have is just because you have a solar system, quote unquote, even a grid-tied system, that if the grid goes down and you have a blackout situation, your solar panels will still continue to power your house. That is not correct in a grid-tied system.
Now, let's talk about why that is. Where's the battery, or where's the battery bank in a grid-tied system?
Grid-tied systems do not have a battery bank. They are a very basic, simple system. You've got a solar array and a basic streamlined string inverter, and that's it for the system. There is no form of energy storage at your home. In a grid-tied system, it uses the grid as your energy storage device. All your surplus energy goes to the grid, and then you pull it back from the grid when you need it later that evening.
Mm-hmm. So, Rhodes-Carter, the way we look at it is the grid actually, when it's working, is the battery, and whatever we supply, even if we don't supply enough current from our solar system, the extra current that we need, let's say for a washing machine or a dryer or an electric stove, that's supplied by the grid. So what the amount that we make is really what we consume is not dependent on the amount we make. There's more available than we may be making at that time, which is one of the reasons why the grid-tied system works well, because it's got the grid as our battery, right?
That's right. The grid is, in essence, this infinite capacity, 100% efficient, perfect battery. It'll store as much energy as you give it and produce as much energy as you want to consume from it. But, that is not the case in an off-grid battery-based system where the battery physically exists at your home and it has a finite capacity.
Mm-hmm. And let's talk about the fault tolerance for the grid outages. If the grid goes down, what happens?
In a grid-tied situation, the grid goes down, you go down. As simple as that.
Mm-hmm. So those who may be thinking, we'll get some solar panels, we'll hook them up, we'll get a grid-tied inverter, and we're good to go. And if the power goes down in the rest of the neighborhood, we're okay because we've got these solar panels and we've got the grid-tie inverter. That's not the case. We will not have power, just like everyone else won't have power, right?
That is correct.
Okay. We come back and we talk about the off-grid system, and then maybe the grid-tied system with a battery backup for critical loads, and we're talking with ironedison.com and Rhodes-Carter. Class, I'm a survivalist, and my plan is to be independent of everything that I can so that supply chain disruptions have a minimum impact on our family. What's the first thing that you do when the power goes out? I've researched the best value solar energy system that I can find, one that's backed by the technical support necessary for the undertaking. The system's installed and is generating electricity right now with equipment purchased from ironedison.com. You heard Brandon Williams, CEO of ironedison.com, right here on USA Prepares. Together, we designed our system. In my opinion, our ironedison.com system has more features, more value, and more potential than any other system I've found. We chose the Snyder Electric system with a hybrid inverter, charge controller, power panel, battery disconnect, and the system control panel. If you want energy independence, as we have, please consider calling the engineering team at ironedison.com, 720-432-6433, 720-432-6433.
What would your life be like if you woke up each morning with new vitality, feeling better than you have in years, and you noticed a difference in your sleeping patterns, blood sugar levels, and had a sense of well-being overall? There's something that is changing thousands of people's lives, and you could be one of them. It's called Heart and Body Extract. Sharon Harris, co-creator of Heart and Body Extract, talks about the positive effects of Heart and Body Extract.
What happens with the formula Heart and Body Extract is it's giving the body the necessary vitamins, minerals, amino acids, enzymes, and phytonutrients so the body will heal itself. And yes, the body does have the ability to balance blood pressure, balance cholesterol, clean and unclog the arteries. It can also work on balancing the circulation for diabetics. So the body is an amazing thing. It simply needs some help so it has the tools to heal itself.
Heart and Body Extract gets results. To order your 2-month supply, call now, toll free at 866-295-5305. Order online at hbextract.com.
Owe $10,000 or more to the IRS?
Get on board with the Tax Admiral. Don't pick on the IRS alone. I'll cut penalties and reduce your overall tax bill. Sometimes I can even get it zeroed out completely.
We're an A-rated company helping people clean up their mess with the IRS.
If you owe $10,000 or more, then call the Tax Admiral.
Call 800-287-7180. Again, that's 800-287-7180. 800-287-7180.
Hey everyone, with 20 plus years as a radio host, I've seen about everything. One thing that keeps recurring though are these timeshare charlatans. These high pressure salespeople who get folks to come out to some resort for a special weekend offer. Then they get them in a corner and browbeat them and coerce them into buying a timeshare they don't need, they don't want, and they can't afford. And then they're stuck with that thing forever. Monthly payments, mortgage payments, annual fees that keep going up and up. Well, up until recently, people thought they couldn't get rid of these things. You know, you can't get out of the contract, you can't get out of the deed or the membership. Well, that's not true. My friends at American Consumer Credit, a timeshare release company, can get you free. That's their personal guarantee. 12 years in business, free consultation, A-plus rating with the BBB, they're the real deal. You want to get out of your timeshare contract? Call them now. 800-587-EXIT. That's 800-587-3948. 800-587-EXIT. Call now, 800-587-3948.
Water is the single most important thing your body needs, so you want to be sure it's the best for you and your family. Since 2005, thousands have depended on Berkey purified water. The Berkey Guy provides the lowest priced filtration systems in every size. For incredibly delicious water now and in an emergency, get to GoBerkey.com or call 877-886-3653. 877-886-3653. GoBerkey.com.
Class, we're talking about solar power, and we're explaining what it is, how it works, and the different types of systems. And Rhodes Carter's with us with IronEdison.com, and let me give you his number. 720-432-6433. 720-432-6433. That's IronEdison.com. Rhodes Carter, off-grid systems. Please give us a thumbnail sketch of what off-grid systems are. If grid-tied systems are 90% of the installations, then that leaves the 10% remaining for off-grid and grid-tied with battery backup. Let's talk about off-grid.
Off-grid systems, they are quite a bit more complicated, a lot more equipment to them, and as we said before, a finite capacity battery that exists on site. You're completely independent from the grid, you're self-sufficient, you're making your energy yourself, which is a huge benefit to that. A lot of our customers who have off-grid systems, they live in places where the grid just is not available, or it could cost hundreds of thousands of dollars to bring the grid to them. So it's much more economical just to be off-grid.
Okay, and we have one of our instructors who lives in Montana. Actually, we have a couple who live in Montana, and they are off-grid, completely off-grid. And that was one of the reasons that it was so expensive to bring the utility power to them that they just decided, well, they're going to be independent, and they have the complete off-grid system. So it's more complicated. You've got a battery bank, and what you put in your battery bank is what you've got. That's it, right?
That's right. The way I like to describe an off-grid system to people, it really starts with a battery. Think of the battery as an energy storage tank. And you've got your solar array and charge controllers that utilize the sun's energy to recharge that battery or fill the tank. And then at the same time, you've got your inverter, which is drawing energy out of the tank, converting it to 120 volts AC to feed all the loads in your home, your lights, your refrigerator, etc. So if designed properly, the battery will never go flat. But sometimes it can, depending on if you have some bad weather and you don't have a lot of sun shining for a few days, or if you have exceptionally high electrical loads and you're draining the battery faster than it can be replaced by the solar array.
And when you're off grid and you have one of these systems, you learn to not be careless with electricity, right? So as you're reaching for that light switch, or you're reaching to turn that dial to energize that equipment, you're in the back of your mind, you're thinking, is this the best use of the electricity right now, or should I save it for, later on tonight, right?
Or even beyond that, teaching your kids to not leave the TV on all the time. Things like that. That is huge. Energy efficiency is paramount when you have a finite amount of energy available to you. When you're in a grid-tied environment, solar system, or just using the grid electricity like most Americans, you just turn the light on and don't even think about it. You leave the TV on 24 hours a day, no big deal. But if you're in an off-grid, battery-based solar system environment, if you do that, the lights are going to go dark, and they're going to stay dark until the sun comes out again to recharge your battery.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep. And let's talk about. So this is for the people who are absolutely self-sufficient. They want to control their own destiny. But with controlling their own destiny, they have to manage their resources very carefully. Either buy more batteries, buy more solar panels, buy more inverter, buy more charge controller, buy more. If they want to use more, they've got to have more equipment, if you will. But you can find a really good balance where you have enough. If you're careful with your energy. So the first thing you have to do is get rid of that electric dryer, right?
Yes. Get rid of all those old appliances that are not very energy efficient. Really, energy efficiency upgrades is a first step if you want to go off the grid. A couple years ago, I heard a factoid that said for every $1 that you spend on energy efficiency upgrades, and by that I mean things like getting brand new Energy Star appliances, LED light bulbs, energy efficient air conditioning solutions. Every $1 you spend on things like that can save you up to $5 on your solar system price.
That's great information. So the first items to go, I guess, would be the electric hot water heater, the electric dryer, and the electric stove, right?
Anything where you're using electricity to create heat, you want to shed those loads. Like you said,
that's a really good point.
Dryer, cooking, space heating, water heating, all of those things you want to get rid of and do with something else besides electricity.
Okay. When we come back from this short commercial announcement, Rhodes Carter will be with us, and we're going to be talking about the grid tied with the battery backup system. And then up next will be Luke Simmons, and we're going to be talking about incentives and tax credits.
Are you worried about how dangerous the world has become? In these days of terrorist attacks, natural disasters, or even a future collapse, you need to be medically prepared to keep your family safe. I'm Joe Alton, MD of store.doomandbloom.net, where you'll find an entire line of uniquely designed medical kits and supplies for when help is not on the way. For everything from individual first aid kits to the ultimate family medical bag, go to store.doomandbloom.net today. That's store.doomandbloom.net. You'll be glad you did.
So you've got to take a state construction license exam or certification. Can't decide on what books or what chapters to study? Discover right now how you can eliminate unnecessary books and wasted study time. At contractorexam.com, our study materials zero in on state-required test topics in an effective, multiple-choice format. So whether you're a plumber, electrician, general contractor, or other construction-related trade, contractorexam.com will help get you prepared. Visit us at www.contractorexam.com today.
This is a healthcare alert from the Pain Relief Hotline. If you, a family member, or a loved one suffers from knee, back, shoulder, or ankle pain and have Medicare as your primary insurance, we've got great news. You don't have to suffer any longer. You can immediately qualify for a pain-relieving brace at little or no cost to you by calling our 24/7 Pain Relief Hotline at 866-389-0620. Delivery is free and all paperwork is handled for you. If you are on Medicare and have knee, back, shoulder, or ankle pain, don't wait. You can qualify to immediately receive a pain-relieving brace at little or no cost by calling our 24/7 Pain Hotline now at 866-389-0620. Our representatives are standing by 24/7 to take your call and rush you your pain-relieving brace at little or no cost to you. Shipping is free and all paperwork is handled for you. Just call 866-389-0620. That's 866-389-0620. Again, 866-389-0620.
Paid non-attorney spokesperson Adam Pulaski of the Pulaski Law Firm with principal office in Houston, Texas is the attorney responsible for the content of this ad. This ad is not legal advice, and the choice of a lawyer should not be based solely upon advertisement. Services may not be available in all states.
Attention Xarelto users. If you or a loved one took Xarelto and suffered a serious bleeding event, you may be entitled to financial compensation. Xarelto is a popular prescription blood thinner used to prevent blood clots and protect patients from strokes. These serious bleeding events have led to numerous cases of hospitalization and even death. Phone lines are open 24/7. Call 800-261-0937. That's 800-261-0937.
Need a powerful ally to fight daily bugs and serious pathogens? Allicin Med is the powerful universal pathogen killer's latest advance of German-sourced allicin, enzymatically stabilized to clear the body of bacteria, fungi, mycobacteria, and parasites. It penetrates body biofilms and is non-toxic to tissues. Pathogen resistance cannot develop for long-term body-optimized wellness. Clear stealth pathogens that promote autoimmune disease, cancer and vascular inflammation and plaque and promote healing of tissues. Now pathogen-free. With 200 milligrams more power than prior Alamed, you can't get a more powerful ally to fight daily bugs and serious pathogens. Give your body what it needs. Allicin Med. Order Dr. Bill Deagle's Nutridyne at 888-212-8871 or NutriMedical.com. That's 1-888-212-8871 or NutriMedical.com. And listen to the NutriMedical Report every weekday on the GCN Radio Network. NutriMedical.com, bringing nutrition and medicine together.
This is Dan Pillett. Do you owe the IRS money you can't pay? Are tax debts crippling you? I've defended people from the IRS for over 30 years. I've helped thousands, and I can help you too. I wrote the book on IRS settlement, and I'm telling you, there's no such thing as a hopeless case. Call 800-34-NO-TAX to finally get free of IRS debt. With the IRS's new programs, there's never been a better time to solve your problem. Call 800-34-NO-TAX. That's 800-34-NO-TAX, or my website, danpilla.com.
For over 5 years, you've been hearing about the Berkey guy, so you may know a few things about him. For example, you are well aware of the superior quality and effectiveness of Berkey water filters and accessories. But did you know the Berkeys have had independent lab tests done to prove just how effective they are? It's true, and he can email you the test results. Just visit GoBerkey.com. You may also know that the Berkey guy has helped tens of thousands of people get better prepared. Now here's something you may not know. GoBerkey.com has amazing specials and deals all the time on a wide variety of survival and preparedness products. Most ready to ship same day. Visit the Berkey guy at GoBerkey.com and be sure to click the red Products on Sale Now button. You can always call toll-free 877-886-3653. Again, that's 877-886-3653. GoBerkey.com, home of the Berkey guy.
Last, we're talking about alternative energy, solar power, and grid-tied systems, off-grid systems, and now grid-tied with battery backup of critical loads. Rhodes Carter, please tell us about that.
Battery backup with grid tie and battery backup is kind of the best of both worlds. Up until a few years ago, really the two categories were very isolated from each other as far as hardware design and the equipment involved in making such a system. Then a couple of years ago, maybe a little more than that, the great new category of inverters came out called the multi-mode inverter, which really brings together both worlds into one system, where you can utilize your solar array, your batteries, the grid, generator, all of those resources to power your loads. So it really, like I said, brings both worlds together and gives you lots of options as far as powering your critical loads or your entire house, whatever you deem as critical, from a wide variety of different sources. So it brings a lot more fault tolerance and options to the table.
Mm-hmm. So we're talking about a system that can manage, let's say you're running low on power and you want to charge the batteries with a generator, for example. We're talking about a system that can handle that, a system that, if you're really not sure whether you want to go grid-tied or off-grid, if you went with this system, the grid-tied with battery backup, you've got both. And you can go grid-tied in the beginning, and if you decide that you want to go off-grid, you just add more batteries, right?
Exactly. You can, you've got all these different energy inputs, and you can utilize any combination of those you want when you first install the system, or later down the road as you decide to expand or your situation changes.
Mm-hmm. And for example, wind power, right?
Yeah.
Or low head hydro.
All of those are options with off-grid systems as well as a grid-tied battery backup situation.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And before Luke Simmons joins us, is there anything else that you'd like to share with us about these systems? We talked about the grid-tied, the off-grid, and the grid-tied with battery backup, and grid-tied being the most common. Do you have a feel for the percentage of off-grid versus grid-tied with the battery backup?
I think statistically there's probably about 85-90% or so of the solar homeowners or owners of solar systems that have a grid-tied system. A lot of the national solar companies really target urban and suburban areas to offset your power bills and want you to either buy a system or, in my opinion, probably the worst thing you can do is lease a system, because you can wind up getting tied into a 20-year lease with a solar system and pay 2, 3, 4 times as much as you would if you just bought the thing. So. But probably the biggest thing that's want to convey to the students is the misconception, as I said earlier, with grid-tied systems, that if the grid goes down, your solar array will keep your house up and running. And that is just simply not the case. It's not designed to do that, and National Electric Code prohibits it. The logic behind that is that if the grid goes down, it went down for a reason, and there's going to be utility workers out there working on the power lines, what they think are coal power lines. But if your system stays up, you could potentially continue to be backfeeding the grid, and you could put those electrical workers in a dangerous position by energizing.
Actually kill them.
Exactly, yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So are we ready for Luke Simmons?
To piggyback on what Rose just said, the people want resilience. They want a backup plan. And to achieve that, you have to get an off-grid system or a grid tie with battery backup. You have to have a battery to help you achieve that independence. Otherwise, like Rhodes said, if the grid goes down, you lose your system. So that's what Iron Edison does: is we design off-grid and grid-tied battery backup systems around one of the best batteries available. And we'll get to more of that later. But just wanted to hammer home. That's what Iron Edison does: is design these off-grid and these grid-tied battery backup systems.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and what about
dovetailing into what I was going to present on was just the huge federal incentive available for these systems. This is one of the few government subsidies that actually works for you and I that we can access, and the government will pay 30% of all costs related to a solar system.
All right, so let's talk about that. So, for example, if I spend $10,000 on a system, are you saying that I can get 30% of that back as a tax credit? Is that what we're saying?
That's exactly correct. This is called an investment tax credit. It's a 30% federal tax credit. It's a credit, not a deduction. So it's real money back in your pocket. Most people realize that when they file their taxes, they'll get a big rebate. But you can also realize it during the year and simply pay less in taxes until you realize that tax credit amount. And so this is a huge incentive that has just been renewed for 5 more years. Just was renewed here in December. So a really great incentive that I said is very inclusive, covers equipment, covers installation, labor, the battery, solar panels, everything related to the system is covered in this tax credit.
Okay, so is this available in all parts of the United States, or the federal part is? But what about the state parts? Are there state incentives?
There are state incentives. Many of them are expiring or are running out, so they pale in comparison to the federal tax credit. But I would encourage your listeners to give us a call. We'll see what we can find for them in their area, see if there's any state incentives available. But the federal 30% tax credit is far and away one of the biggest incentives to go solar, take your home off the grid, and give you that backup plan, that resilience in the case of a grid outage or grid failure.
And Luke Simmons, the tax incentives, the credits, is there a limitation on the time that they can be used, or can you carry them forward for indefinitely?
That's a great question. And one of the great things about this program is you can carry the credit forward indefinitely. So there is no expiration. If you can't use it all in the first year, you can carry it forward. And, we're talking about a sizable amount of money. So many people, may be on a fixed income, may not be able to use that all in the first year, but they can absolutely carry that forward. We have the IRS documentation, and we encourage you to, review that and consult your tax professional. But yes, you can carry that tax credit forward indefinitely until you realize the full amount.
Okay. So how much of the decisions that you see your customers make is based on the investment tax credit? So, for example, is a person saying, I'm only doing this because of the tax credit, or are you finding that they're doing it because they want energy independence? What is the reason that you find most popular for those of us who want to be involved with these alternative energy systems?
They're doing it for a backup plan and for resilience and redundancy. We rely on the grid for so much every day and don't realize it. Maybe we take it for granted. And, when you start thinking about what's going to happen if it's not there, or if there's an outage, that really can start to motivate you to think about having a backup plan and taking part or all of your house off the grid. And so the tax credit is there as a nice kind of incentive, and it certainly helps kind of push people that are on the fence to go ahead and do the system. But our audience, our company is there to give you a backup plan, to give you resilience, and help you keep your family safe and your food safe if anything ever happens to the grid.
So, it brings to mind those who I've heard in the past say, the only reason I'm taking this loan out, and I'm not talking about solar at all, I'm talking about they'll take a loan out and they'll say, because I need the tax deduction. It made no sense to me to do it for that reason, but take a loan out just so we can get a tax deduction. But in what you're saying is people really want to be independent, and that is the main reason, and the incentive is nice to have.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And, you're not going to do an off-grid system with a battery for ROI. You're doing it for other reasons. You're doing it for security and independence. If you want ROI, you just do a grid-tied system, slap those panels on your house, but they offer you no redundancy and no resiliency if anything were to happen to the grid. So, our customers are motivated by, like I said, that resiliency and independence that these battery systems give them.
And Glass, what Luke was saying, ROI stands for return on investment. Return on investment. Okay, Luke, is there anything else that you would like to share with us before Tim Nazimmel gets behind the mic?
That's about it. I was also going to mention that, like Rhodes mentioned, there are some utility incentives available. Depending on where you live, who your utility is, they may offer you a small incentive as well for some of your solar energy, but that obviously is not going to be available if you're not going to be on the grid. So
okay, all right. So we'll be talking with Tim Nazimmel about battery types, and Luke, you're going to be back with us, and we're going to be talking with you about nickel iron battery advantages. So let's as well as Timna. Timna, welcome. Glad you're here with us in class today, and why don't we start talking about nickel iron battery advantages?
Sure. Yeah. Good to be here. So, I think that the nickel iron battery is probably the best battery for going completely off the grid. It's a super long life battery, extremely robust, and it's also reusable. So it's very unlike lead acid batteries. The plates of a lead acid battery degrade into the acid over time, whereas with a nickel iron battery, your plates are preserved by the electrolyte solution in the battery. So the electrolyte is preserving the plates, and you do an electrolyte refresh every decade or so, and you can keep using the batteries pretty much indefinitely.
You know, that that was a very important consideration for us here at the farm. You know, the batteries. You know, you can certainly buy used batteries. You can buy batteries at the auto parts store or at the big box store, the lead acid batteries. But for the long run, it didn't seem like that was the best way to go. And I'm glad we're talking about that. We'll be right back with Tim Nisimbel and Iron. Class, I'm a survivalist, and my plan is to be independent of everything that I can so that supply chain disruptions have a minimum impact on our family. What's the first thing that you do when the power goes out? I've researched the best value solar energy system that I can find, one that's backed by the technical support necessary for the undertaking. The system's installed and is generating electricity right now with equipment purchased from ironedison.com. You heard Brandon Williams, CEO of ironedison.com, right here on USA Prepares. Together, we designed our system. In my opinion, our ironedison.com system has more features, more value, and more potential than any other system I found. We chose the Snyder Electric system with a hybrid inverter, charge controller, power panel, battery disconnect, and the system control panel. If you want energy independence, as we have, please consider calling the engineering team at ironedison.com, 720-432-6433, 720-432-6433.
By now, you know the smart way to buy emergency food storage is calories per dollar. Ready Supply Foods sells you 50% more food for your money. GMO-free, 25-year shelf life, great tasting, and free shipping. You need 2,000 calories per day under ideal conditions. Most 30-day kits don't have enough calories to sustain you for more than a week. They just don't have enough nutrition to do the job. See the comparisons for yourself at ReadySupplyFoods.com. We are the new leader in value and quality. Go to ReadySupplyFoods.com today.
Hunters, anglers, campers, and survivalists. Get back to nature. Expand your horizons with the highest quality, most versatile, unique slingshots and sling bows on the market at slingbow.com. Slingbow products are compact and models start from just $17.98. They're perfect for your bug out bag or storing in your vehicle. Give yourself and your loved ones the excitement and tradition of slingbow. A new frontier in archery and truly modern twist on this primitive survival tool. Feel the thrill only at slingbow.com.
Are you worried about your mom or dad living alone in their house? Hi, I'm Joan London. Listen, I know how difficult it is to find senior care for someone you love. That's why I recommend a free service called A Place for Mom. They are the nation's largest senior living referral service. Call A Place for Mom today.
To receive free information on senior living communities in your area, call A Place for Mom at 1-800-704-6182.
A Place for Mom offers free one-on-one advice from local advisors and a personalized list of senior living communities you can visit. If you have questions about senior care for your mom or dad, there's a place for answers, A Place for Mom.
Call A Place for Mom in the next 10 minutes to get your free ebook on financing senior care as well as free information on senior living communities in your area. Call 1-800-704-6182. That's 1-800-704-6182.
Attention USA Prepares listeners. When you're on the road or have limited data or Wi-Fi, now you can listen to USA Prepares unfiltered and untapped at no extra charge on this non-federal phone number, 1-605-477-3249. Try it now to listen to USA Prepares 24/7 at no extra cost or data charges. These are not on federal lines. These are lines located on Indian reservations off the grid. Call 1-605-477-3249. No smartphones or internet needed. To hear USA Prepares untapped and off the grid, just call 1-605-477-3249.
I'm Nick Soboleski, a Select Quote agent with a true story that could save you hundreds of dollars a year. A woman named Linda just called. Her husband, Ray, has a $300,000 group life insurance policy, but is changing jobs and can't take it with him. Well, I impartially shopped the highly rated term life insurance companies we represent and found Ray, who is 41 and takes medication to control his cholesterol, a 10-year, $500,000 policy for under $26 a month. That's almost twice the coverage for less than half of what he had paid. If SelectQuote hasn't shopped for your life insurance, you're probably paying too much.
For your free quote, call 1-800-403-4885. That's 1-800-403-4885. 1-800-403-4885. Or go to SelectQuote.com. We shop, you save. Get full details in the example policy at SelectQuote.com/commercials. Your price can vary depending on your health, issuing company, and other factors. Not available in all states.
Are you looking to sell body armor? Want to make extra money selling body armor at your local gun shows? With low minimum buys and great returns, Katie Armor is the answer. Make money in your spare time. It's American-made body armor with the quickest turnaround in the industry, which means you get your product when you need it at very competitive rates. And they'll ship it to you for free. If you own a business, give them a call today at 855-488-KATIE. That's 855-488-2284. Or go to katiearmor.com. Come and take it.
Class, we're talking about solar systems, and we're talking about the financial reasons to choose one over the other, and the types of systems that you can select: grid-tied, off-grid, grid-tied with battery backup. And Tim Nazimmel's with us, and Luke Simmons, both at the microphone at ironedison.com, and we're talking about battery advantages. So there are several types of batteries. They have different capacities, they have different maintenance levels, and they have different life expectancies and different costs. So, if you want to spend less, you can, but the battery system won't last as long. If you are willing to spend more, you might have a battery system that can last generations, but it requires some maintenance. And that's what we're talking about right now. So Tim Nazimmel, nickel-iron battery advantages. I believe you said that the nickel-iron battery is the best choice because the plates are preserved by the electrolyte rather than being consumed during the charge-discharge cycle, right?
That's right. So the electrolyte solution in a nickel-iron battery is alkaline, not an acid. And it's potassium hydroxide with some lithium hydroxide as well, and it's preserving the nickel and iron plates. That's what gives the battery such a long life.
And, I asked you during the break, and I'd like to share this with our class today. Your company is not the ABC Solar Company. It's not the ABC Alternative Energy Company. It's the Iron Edison Battery Company. Why is that? Why is it the Iron Edison Battery Company?
So we're primarily a battery company that specializes in alternative battery chemistries. And as my colleague Rhodes mentioned earlier, the battery really is the heart of an off-grid system. So customers needed other components of the system to go along with the battery, but we specialize in the battery, and we'll put together the rest of the system for you as well. But the battery is what we specialize in.
Mm-hmm. And so I believe you said the best choice was the nickel iron battery. So how long does it last?
It gets 11,000 cycles at a recommended 80% depth of discharge. 11,000 divided by 365 days a year is 30.1 years. So if you cycle the battery once a day, it'll last over 30 years. And just to clarify, let's back up for a minute. I think the nickel iron battery is the best battery for an off-grid application. So
okay.
there's
best choice for off-grid.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Now, when you say that it lasts 11,000 cycles at 80% charge, 30.1 years. Depth of discharge. Mm-hmm. Okay. 30.1 years. Now, are we done at 30.1 years, or can you just keep renewing the electrolyte and just keep that system going?
In theory, they've found batteries that are Edison was the original inventor of this battery, and it was being manufactured, I believe it was over in New Jersey. They've found old batteries from that old manufacturing plant that were over 50 years old. They refreshed the electrolyte in them, and they were working as new. So 11,000 is sort of like the cap that we put on due to buildups that form on the plates and stuff like that. But in theory, if everything is kept well maintained and cleaned and refreshed, then they have certainly found batteries that are over 30 years old that have been working like new after an electrolyte refresh.
Yeah, and that was one of the things that I researched and I really liked about this particular choice for the off-grid solution. We're going into a commercial break and top of the hour news. When we come back, Timna and Luke, can we talk about freeze resistance? Can we talk about equalization of the batteries and battery maintenance? And let's compare that with lead acid and so forth. Can we do that when we come back?
Absolutely.
Sure.
Okay. We're discussing alternative energy, and IronEdison.com's with us. We'll be right back. How many of you want to learn how to dig up bugs, worms, and raise crickets for food? Do you prefer to eat them dried and crunchy or while still alive? Well, you won't have to if you can defend your food supply from predators. You may want to get an AR-15 kit from guns80.com and build your own AR-15 rifle from a kit. If you can legally own a rifle, you can purchase this AR-15 kit. If you're handy, you can complete the rifle in about an hour. The kit comes with all the parts you're going to need to build your rifle, but you'll need a drill press. And survivalists need one anyway. The Guns80.com team purchased the same used floor-standing drill press that I have for $100. You can too. And when you're finished, you'll have a paperwork-free AR-15 rifle, a drill press, drill bits, and the knowledge to maintain your AR-15 rifle, all for less than you expect. So if you want a paperwork-free AR-15 parts kit like mine, visit Guns80.com, Guns80.com, and let the unprepared have our share of the bugs.
As if chlorine in our water weren't bad enough, now they're adding ammonia?
It's true. Some municipalities are now adding ammonia plus chlorine to your water supply. It's a disinfectant called chloramine. But with a trusted Big Berkey water filter, you can keep chloramine out of your water. New NSF EPA certified lab tests show EPA Berkey water filters remove chloramines, pharmaceuticals, BPA, pesticides, bacteria and viruses, all forms of fluoride, and much more. Big Berkey water filters are the original and most trusted on the market. The gold standard in water purification. And our filters last for years at less than 2 cents per gallon. Big Berkey, the one that's powerful enough to purify stagnant pond water. Get your Big Berkey today. Call 1-877-99-BERKEY or click BigBerkeyWaterFilters.com. That's 1-877-99-BERKEY. Big Berkey Water Filters, for the love of clean water.
Are you worried about how dangerous the world has become? In these days of terrorist attacks, natural disasters, or even a future collapse, you need to be medically prepared to keep your family safe. I'm Joe Alton, MD of store.doomandbloom.net, where you'll find an entire line of uniquely designed medical kits and supplies for when help is not on the way. For everything from individual first aid kits to the ultimate family medical bag, go to store.doomandbloom.net today. That's store.doomandbloom.net. You'll be glad you did.
If you want to raise the next generation of patriot leaders, take a look at Freedom Project Academy, a Judeo-Christian online school for kindergarten through high school. No Common Core teaching methods or high-stakes testing. Freedom Project Academy is government-free, doesn't accept any government funding, and is a fully accredited private school. All classes are taught live online with real teachers across the country. Open enrollment runs March through July, but classes fill up quickly. Check them out at fpeusa.org. That's fpeusa.org.
Everyone all set, cocked, locked, hour number 2 of USAPrepares.com. And we're broadcasting 2 hours today, special report on alternative energy, solar power for you and for your energy independence. Brandon Williams of IronEdison.com and his engineering team is here with us today. And this is a continuation of the first hour. We're talking about the battery components of the system and how important it is to select the right battery system. And we talked about nickel iron battery advantages, and the best choice as it was described for the off-grid solution, the nickel iron battery solution. And we've got Tim Nazemel and Luke Simmons with us to continue that discussion. So when we talk about the battery, just to recap, the life expectancy of the nickel iron battery is what? Tim?
So we're looking at
okay.
We're looking at 30 years. And so it is the lowest total cost of ownership of any battery for these off-grid applications. And we're competing against primarily lead acid batteries, also known as golf cart batteries. These have a lower upfront cost, but the highest total cost of ownership. These batteries need to be replaced on average every 5 years. So you're looking at 30 years of a system. Your solar panels are going to last 25, 30 years. Why not have your battery last that long? And when you use lead acid battery, you're looking at replacing it every 5 years, and maybe even sooner if you make one critical mistake with that battery, and it's done. That's where nickel iron comes in as pretty much all the weaknesses of a lead acid battery is a strength of nickel iron. And so we're really looking at longevity and lowest total cost of ownership of any battery for an off-grid system.
Luke, when you say make one mistake, tell us what you mean by that with lead acid. What could we do that would cost us we would have to replace the battery bank. What would we have done to cause that?
So lead acid batteries don't like to be discharged more than 50%. So you have to be very careful about how far you're taking that battery down. So say you have a period of cloudy weather and you're not, maybe you're out of town or you're not, watching your system every day. And next thing you know, you've drained that battery farther than you should have. And it can't recover from that. You'll lose capacity and you'll eventually see overall performance start to sag, and it's time for a new battery. So that is one of the many things that is a weakness of the lead acid battery. And like I said, lower upfront cost, but the highest total cost of ownership of any battery around. So nickel iron's a little more of an upfront investment. It is a premium product. We're looking at about twice the upfront cost of a lead acid battery, but when you look at what you're going to get and the value over those 30 years, it's the clear choice and the clear winner for longevity.
Okay, so let's talk about how important it is that the batteries, if we have a string of batteries, and let's say they are delivering 24 volts or 48 volts, how important is it that if we were to use lead acid batteries, that they would all be of the same strength, if you will, the same capacity? Is that important or is it not important?
It is. The lowest capacity battery will bring down the rest if you don't use similar and like capacities. And in the same vein, you really have to oversize your lead acid bank because, like I said, you're half of that capacity you're never going to be able to use, and that's just the nature of the lead acid battery. So we see these huge oversized battery banks, whereas nickel iron, we're able to use all of that energy. We recommend an 80% depth of discharge, but you can drain it completely and not damage the battery. And so we're looking at just a better, more appropriately sized battery for your energy needs with nickel iron.
Now, years ago, if you went to a gas station, the mechanics, and I'm talking in the 1940s, 50s, maybe even the 1960s, the mechanics would say, never put a car battery or a lead acid battery on the floor, on the concrete floor. And so they would always raise them up. And I have a feeling that it had nothing to do with the concrete in the battery. It had to do with the freezing of the battery. How important is it to keep the batteries from freezing?
Yeah, with a lead acid battery, if you drain it completely, if you've discharged it for the day, a lot of that electrolyte is water, and it can easily freeze if it's like on that concrete environment below freezing. So nickel iron cannot. It is rated down to 30 below zero. And so it has been used for years in Alaskan Railroad, Canadian Railroad switching stations because of this. It's very durable to cold weather, and you don't have to worry about freezing it and ruining the battery. It won't freeze down to 30 below.
Mm-hmm. May I ask you this? Here's something that I don't quite understand. Thomas Edison's company invented this battery, and I guess Edison himself was the guy who is known as the inventor of the nickel iron battery. What happened to that so that, we used to have electric cars. I saw a 1906 electric car, and it was using, batteries. And I've been to the telephone switching station in our little hamlet here in Missouri, and they've got the nickel iron batteries. Why did they disappear from us being able to use them as consumers, except for buying them from companies like ironedison.com? What happened? Was it the cost?
Well, the battery is inherently a non-consumable, which is for most big corporations, they don't like that. They want you to buy their product every few years and keep it coming. So it was actually the Edison Storage Battery Company was actually bought by Exide, which is a large lead acid battery company in the early 70s. And 2 years later, they ceased all production of the nickel iron battery. Now, we don't know exactly why. We can infer, like I said, it's a non-consumable. It's maybe a little higher cost of production, and they didn't see the profits that they could get with lead acid batteries. So it's really been revitalized in the last 4, 5, 6 years by Iron Edison for use in off-grid applications because it pairs so well with solar. One of the knocks on the nickel iron battery over the years is a self-discharge rate of about 1% per day. So it's not a good battery if you're just going to charge it up and let it sit there as a UPS and use it when you need it, because it'll slowly self-discharge. But when you pair that with solar, when you pair that with renewable energy where you're receiving a charge every single day, you negate that weakness and get all the benefits of the battery, which is longevity, durability, and just ease of use.
Mm-hmm. And when we refresh the electrolyte, when we refresh it, that really means change out the electrolyte, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. The electrolyte starts to absorb carbon dioxide from the air and forms a precipitate, a solid really that starts to collect at the bottom of the cell and starts to collect on some of the plates. And so that just needs to, we recommend every 7 to 10 years changing that electrolyte out. We can source the ingredients for the electrolyte, and we have detailed instructions on how to do that. And it's simply a matter of refreshing it, and you essentially have a brand new battery. Like Tim mentioned earlier, there's no plate degradation, and you essentially have refreshed the battery, and this is how we get 30 plus years of life out of this technology.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and when we do that, do you have a rough idea of what the cost is? Are we talking minimal expense to refresh the electrolyte, or are we talking about a major expense?
We're talking roughly 10% of the original upfront cost of the battery. So there is a large volume of electrolyte used in a lot of these cells, and we have the exact percentage for each of our amp hour capacities, but roughly 10%. So not a huge expenditure. And again, if you look at the cost of replacing lead acid batteries 5, 6, 7 times over 30 years compared to 1 nickel iron battery and 3 electrolyte refreshes, nickel iron is still the clear winner, right around $1 per usable watt hour. Whereas with lead acid, you're going to pay $2 to $5 per usable watt hour. So even with the electrolyte refreshes, the value is still there, and it's still the best choice for longevity.
Okay. And in terms of setting up this battery bank, are there any precautions that, like, let's say a person wanted to install them in his garage. Let's say he had a garage that had garage doors and you can drive the car in and out, or cars in and out. Are there any concerns about having the batteries in the garage or in a garage? Where do they need to be, in a separate building, or do they need to be in a shed? Where do we put these batteries?
So the battery, just like a lead acid battery, will off-gas hydrogen and oxygen, and that's just the water, the water molecule being split inside. So because it is off-gassing hydrogen, that is flammable in even small quantities. So we recommend placing it in a well-ventilated environment, and even better yet, a battery box with an inline vent fan and ventilation to the outside. So as long as those precautions are taken, you will be safe. But with anything, that's flammable, we want to take the utmost precaution. And so we recommend a vented battery box or a shed or an outbuilding with proper ventilation where there's no, ignition sources nearby.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So when we talk about a battery box, are we talking about something that can be manufactured out of or constructed out of wood? Is that what we're talking about?
Very simple. Yep. Exactly. Wood, maybe plexiglass front to be able to see inside. And we have a couple great articles on how to build that. Every one is unique depending on your application and where you're going to put the battery. So we don't have a pre-configured battery box, but it's very simple to build. And we have a couple great articles giving you step-by-step instructions on how to do that.
Luke, when I was a teenager, and actually even before that, I did the maintenance on our vehicles at home, and that included checking the electrolyte and topping it off with distilled water. Wearing a pair of safety glasses and having a bottle that had a very tiny spout so I could squeeze in distilled water. When we come back, can you talk about the maintenance that's required? We'll talk about lead acid, and we'll talk about the nickel iron battery maintenance.
Absolutely, yep.
Class, I'm a survivalist, and my plan is to be independent of everything that I can so that supply chain disruptions have a minimum impact on our family. What's the first thing that you do when the power goes out? I've researched the best value solar energy system that I can find, one that's backed by the technical support necessary for the undertaking. The system's installed and is generating electricity right now with equipment purchased from ironedison.com. You heard Brandon Williams, CEO of ironedison.com, right here on USA Prepares. Together, we designed our system. In my opinion, our ironedison.com system has more features, more value, and more potential than any other system I've found. We chose the Snyder Electric system with a hybrid inverter, charge controller, power panel, battery disconnect, and the system control panel. If you want energy independence, as we have, please consider calling the engineering team at ironedison.com, 720-432-6433, 720-432-6433.
Are you worried about your mom or dad living alone in their house? Hi, I'm Joan London. Listen, I know how difficult it is to find senior care for someone you love. That's why I recommend a free service called A Place for Mom. They are the nation's largest senior living referral service. Call A Place for Mom today.
To receive free information on senior living communities in your area, call A Place for Mom at 1-800-704-6182.
A Place for Mom offers free one-on-one advice from local advisors and a personalized list of senior living communities you can visit. If you have questions about senior care for your mom or dad, there's a place for answers, A Place for Mom.
Call A Place for Mom in the next 10 minutes to get your free ebook on financing senior care as well as free information on senior living communities in your area. Call 1-800-704-6182. That's 1-800-704-6182.
This is Dan Pilla. Do you owe the IRS money you can't pay? Are tax debts crippling you? I've defended people from the IRS for over 30 years. I've helped thousands, and I can help you too. I wrote the book on IRS settlement, and I'm telling you, there's no such thing as a hopeless case. Call 800-34-NO-TAX to finally get free of IRS debt. With the IRS's new programs, there's never been a better time to solve your problem. Call 800-34-NO-TAX. That's 800-34-NO-TAX, or my website, danpilla.com.
It's about time something new came along for better selling and buying online. And I found it.
What now, Marge?
It's buysellmakeoffer.com.
Never heard of it.
It's a brand new company. That's why you've never heard of it. It's the newest and best way to sell any products online. I did all the research.
Sell my car?
Yes.
Our home?
Yep.
My golf bag?
Your golf clubs. All of them.
How about your purse collection hoard?
Hey, now.
You said any product.
Right. I did. We get 30 days free.
Really?
Packages starting from only $7.95. And buysellmakeoffer.com will never charge item fees ever. Never. And this is cool. Listen to this. You can even use Skype or video to show your items.
That's cool.
Yes. All we have to do is go to the website, sign up, and then load our stuff to sell. I love this site.
Buysellmakeoffer.com.
Buysellmakeoffer.com. You got it?
Buysellmakeoffer.com.
Buysellmakeoffer.com. Better selling, better buying.
This is Sharon Hunt. Before using Heart and Body Extract, my energy level was very, very low. I could only walk a few feet and then would have to sit down. I was tired and lethargic. But after taking Heart and Body Extract, my energy level has improved greatly, and I can now walk longer distances without getting tired so fast. Thank you, Heart and Body Extract.
Learn the secrets of an effective, natural, 100% organic nutritional supplement for a healthy heart and circulation at hbextract.com.
Class, IronEdison.com is with us. Luke Simmons is telling us about the batteries on the system, and joining us is Hunter Hendershot of IronEdison.com. So let's talk about the maintenance of these systems, the battery systems. When we have a lead acid battery, as we have here on some of the equipment and diesel equipment here at the farm, trucks and tractors and so forth, we need to check the electrolyte level, and we need to replace what has evaporated with distilled water. So we need to do that in order to ensure the maximum life expectancy of the batteries. And batteries are, expensive. And we use a hydrometer to check each cell and make sure that, the cells are of equal specific gravity. What is the maintenance of the lead acid batteries of a typical system? And then let's move on to what is the maintenance of the nickel iron batteries?
Yeah, so like you mentioned, lead acid batteries and nickel iron batteries both are flooded typically and use water and need to be refilled with distilled water every so often. So nickel iron is actually easier to take care of. There's no hydrometer necessary. It's alkaline electrolyte compared to acid for the lead acid. And specific gravity does not change. So you don't need to worry about where your electrolyte is. It will always stay the same. And so all you have to do is use distilled water, typically every 4 to 6 weeks. And on each cell, there's a clearly marked minimum and maximum water line. So we recommend checking the battery once a week, seeing where it's at, and then planning accordingly. And typically every 4 to 6 weeks, you'll just need to top the cells off with distilled water. It's as simple as that.
Okay. And we talked about discharging, depth of discharge of the lead acid batteries at 50% can damage them. Is that the same, or is it different for the nickel iron batteries?
It's different. So the battery can actually give you all of its capacity with no damage. So that's another great feature about it. You don't have to babysit it. You don't have to worry about how far you're draining it. Now we recommend 80% to plan on, and that's just staying conservative with what the battery is able to give you. So we design all of our systems around an 80% depth of discharge, but also tell our customers don't worry about it. If you take it down farther than that, you're not going to hurt it. It'll bounce right back the next day, and you'll see no ill effects. Where with a lead acid battery, you do that once, and you may have ruined the entire set of batteries.
So looking at what you just said, with a lead acid battery, we don't want to go below 20%. Is that correct? Of depth of discharge?
Typically, depth of discharge is correlated with cycle life. So the shallower you take it, the more number of cycles you can get out of it. So for maximum cycle life, 20%, even 15% is recommended. But then you end up with a hugely oversized battery bank and tons of extra battery capacity just sitting there that you're never going to be able to use. Whereas with nickel iron, it's not that case. We size it to fit your needs, and you're able to use all of that, or at least 80% of it is what we count on.
What you just said is so valuable, because I have a feeling that not all of us understood that, Luke, that you can take your nickel iron battery down 80% versus 20% for the lead acid battery. So, when we think about capacity, we get a lot more capacity out of the nickel iron battery system, just in that component of the equation alone.
Right. And that goes along with just the overall ease of maintenance. It's easier to take care of. There's no equalization charge that's needed like for a lead acid. Pretty simple charging regimen. We want it to get up to a certain voltage and charge at that all day, every day. There's no float charge needed. There's no equalization. So on the whole, it's just a much easier and simpler battery to take care of, and much more rugged and durable and built to last. Like we've been saying all broadcasts, 30 plus years.
Luke, Let me ask you one more question before we get into the research and design of the system with Hunter Hendershot. When your customers call and they ultimately make that decision to, okay, here's what we agreed to purchase from ironedison.com, what percentage would you say says, you know what, I'm convinced nickel iron's the way to go versus another battery? What percentage are willing to do what I would consider would be the best choice?
Most or all of them, because most of them have contacted us in the first place because they love the batteries. So it's an easy sell when you look at the numbers.
There you go. Okay, when we come back, Hunter Hendershot's going to be with us when we talk about research and design of these systems.
So you've got to take a state construction license exam or certification. Can't decide on what books or what chapters to study? Discover right now how you can eliminate unnecessary books and wasted study time. At contractorexam.com, our study materials zero in on state-required test topics in an effective, multiple-choice format. So whether you're a plumber, electrician, general contractor, or other construction-related trade, contractorexam.com will help get you prepared. Visit us at www.contractorexam.com today.
Don't know what's in your drinking water? Better get a ProPure. With the Pro 1G 2.0 all-in-one filter, remove over 200 contaminants, including fluoride and lead. Taste water the way nature meant it to be. Clean, crisp, and refreshing. See the complete line of ProPure water filtration products. There's a ProPure system for you. Visit your authorized ProPure dealer for details on our current free shipping special or ProPureUSA.com. That's ProPuruSA.com.
My name is Don Wiskin, and at 42 years old, I suffered a massive heart attack and was told I'd be on disability for the rest of my life. What did I do? I created Extendivite, a garlic and cayenne mix of 7 herbs which rebuilt my heart and gave me back my life. For over 17 years now, I have made this formula available to you so you don't have to suffer the same thing I did. Clean your blocked arteries and strengthen your heart and boost your natural immune system. I'm 60 years old now, and I still work every day. To get your Extendivite, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822, or visit heartdrop.com. Extendivite is only $69.95 for a 2-month supply of either capsules or liquid.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Paid non-attorney spokesperson Adam Pulaski of the Pulaski Law Firm with principal office in Houston, Texas is the attorney responsible for the content of this ad. This ad is not legal advice, and the choice of a lawyer should not be based solely upon advertisement. Services may not be available in all states. Attention Xarelto users. If you or a loved one took Xarelto and suffered a serious bleeding event, you may be entitled to financial compensation. Xarelto is a popular prescription blood thinner used to prevent blood clots and protect patients from strokes. These serious bleeding events have led to numerous cases of hospitalization and even death. Phone lines are open 24/7. Call 800-261-0937. That's 800-261-0937.
What would your life be like if you woke up each morning with new vitality, feeling better than you have in years, and you noticed a difference in your sleeping patterns, blood sugar levels, and had a sense of well-being overall? There's something that is changing thousands of people's lives, and you could be one of them. It's called Heart and Body Extract. Sharon Harris, co-creator of Heart and Body Extract, talks about the positive effects of Heart and Body Extract.
What happens with the formula Heart and Body Extract is it's giving the body the necessary vitamins, minerals, amino acids, enzymes, and phytonutrients so the body will heal itself. And yes, the body does have the ability to balance blood pressure, balance cholesterol, clean and unclog the arteries. It can also work on balancing the circulation for diabetics. So the body is an amazing thing. It simply needs some help so it has the tools to heal itself.
Heart and Body Extract gets results. To order your 2-month supply, call now, toll free at 866-295-5305. Order online at hbextract.com.
Are you worried about how dangerous the world has become? In these days of terrorist attacks, natural disasters, or even a future collapse, you need to be medically prepared to keep your family safe. I'm Joe Alton, MD of store.doomandbloom.net, where you'll find an entire line of uniquely designed medical kits and supplies for when help is not on the way. For everything from individual first aid kits to the ultimate family medical bag, go to store.doomandbloom.net today. That's store.doomandbloom.net. You'll be glad you did.
Are you tired of commuting to a job that makes someone else rich? Working harder than ever, but getting nowhere? Do you hate spending hundreds of dollars every week on daycare? Having someone else raise your children? With our opportunities, you can start earning money as soon as next week. You get to be the boss, work from home, and live a happier life. At Be the Boss Network, you'll find hundreds of work-from-home opportunities that you can literally start today and be earning money as soon as next week. Go to freedom106.com and start earning money as soon as next week. You get to be the boss. Get out of the rat race. Work from home. Go to freedom106.com right now and change your life today. That's freedom, the number 106.com. Go to freedom106.com and start earning money as soon as next week. You be the boss. Go to freedom106.com.
As we're talking about solar power systems, and back in 1980, I was doing a seminar with one of our founders of our satellite communications company, and we wanted to convey a message. And the message was how to spend your money carefully when you buy the equipment. And so what we did was in the stage in a large theater in front of everybody, we said, when you're buying satellite communications equipment, invest your money and don't throw it away. And we took out of our suit pocket, 100 $1 bills, and we threw it up in the air and we said, invest your money, don't throw it away. And we were trying to make a point. And that's where Hunter Hendershot comes in. You want to spend your money very, very carefully when you buy this equipment. So welcome, Hunter.
Hi, Vincent. Thank you for having me. Yeah, so what I'd really like to talk about out here with the crowd is research, design, and then organizing all this research that you've come across and understanding these systems. I find it with my customers here over the last while now, it's very important to understand how the system works. And I really work diligently to help educate my customers on all the components, such as the inverters and the charge controllers, and then the battery, of course. Those are going to be your three main components. And then there's other accessories, such as Magnum has an auto gen start unit, same as Schneider Electric and several other manufacturers. But for example, this auto gen start, it's going to work. They have two different models. One model will work with the multi-mode inverters that Rhodes mentioned earlier, where the inverter can literally communicate to the generator, send a signal, and say, hey, we've hit this voltage, let's turn on. Now, some of these inverters out here that a lot of these customers, the off-gridders, do-it-yourselfers, have been doing this for 10, 15, 20 years. They may have earlier versions of inverters where they don't have these capabilities, so they require a different type of auto gen start, such as the AGS-S version. And this works with electrical pulse and a two-wire system, and to where you can also put in specifically to that the voltages that need to be read and then turning on the generator. So when it comes to the overall system, a lot of times customers of mine already have some components. We're never against working with what you already have, but we want to make sure that all the components are going to work together, as there are many, many charge controllers out there. There's many inverters out there. They don't all have the same capabilities, and not all of them will work with our batteries. Not all of them will work with the newer components on the market. So specifically with our nickel iron batteries, there's a higher voltage that needs to be hit, 1.65 volts per cell to be specific. Without hitting this voltage, we're not really going to put much of a charge into these batteries. So it's very, very important that we do this. And that's where we come to charge controllers, inverters. Most of the charge controllers out there are going to be able to do that, especially the MPPT charge controllers. But inverters, that's another area where sometimes we have to take out a couple cells until a firmware update comes out. For example, if you're wanting to charge from any AC source, you have to go through your inverter to invert that back to DC and charge the batteries. Now, be it a generator or the grid, either or. Most inverters on the market are going to be about 2 volts shy of what our requirements are. So we drop a cell or two until that manufacturer comes out with a firmware update, such as Outback Power has one coming out here shortly in a couple months. Once that comes out, all of their components will reach the voltages that we're shooting for to use in every part of these batteries and optimize this system.
As you say this, what you're really saying is you really need to have some technical support when you make these decisions because of these voltages, of the batteries. And so where do you start? Do you start with the batteries and then you work from there? Or do you start with the solar panels, or do you start with the inverter? Where does a person start with the system design?
Well, they can start by calling Iron Edison and asking a couple questions. I'd gladly help them.
No, I understand that. I understand that. And I agree. And that's what I did. But what I'm saying is when you start, do you start with the battery and then make sure that all the battery bank, and make sure that all of the other components work with those batteries? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, yes and no. So I typically start with, I look at the load calculations and then what we're shooting for. What are the goals of the customer? Are they looking to cover all of their electrical needs, or are they looking to supply a sub panel going in for just critical loads and just for if the grid goes down, or the worst case scenarios, or what have you, or if they just want to power, for example, just a fridge and some lights. So, and then from there, I look at how much solar are we going to need to produce the energy required. And then I look at the battery. So kind of the solar and the battery at the same time. They go hand in hand. You got to have so much solar to not only supply your electrical needs, but as well as to charge up the battery daily as well. And then from there, I size appropriately inverter and charge controller and all the other components that go into this.
And so let's say a person says, it's just too much to think about. I'm going to buy one component and then get another one and another one. What happens? What have you seen typically happening when someone does that? Do they waste money?
Absolutely, Vincent. And I come across this quite often with some of my customers. They, they talk to me a little bit and then they go out and buy something that they've done some research on. And they come back and they say, a couple months later and say, hey, I got this part. What else do I need? And I say, well, let's take a look at it. Give me information on it. And I look up, well, hey, it turns out this isn't exactly what you need. It's close, but we need another version of this that's going to meet our requirements for the entirement of the system and to meet what your goals are. So that does happen. For example, buying a charge controller that's only going to supply for a 24-volt battery, and we are originally going for a 48-volt system. So this obviously isn't going to work. It's not going to hit the voltages.
Mm-hmm. And well, let's talk about that for a few minutes, if we may. When we are selecting as a customer whether we go with a 12-volt, 24, 48-volt system, what are the advantages of the higher voltage? Can you share that with us?
Oh, absolutely. If you're looking to power anything that requires a 240 volt supply, or quotations 220 volt as it's more commonly referred to, you're going to require at least a 24 volt system. Now, optimally, a 48 volt system is going to be a little bit more suitable. It'll be able to more easily provide that power, as well as smaller wire requirements. As the higher voltage, the wire will not have to carry so much amperage through it.
And class, one way to think about this is if you're using a jumper cable in your car, it's not a thin piece of wire. It's a very heavy cable. And sometimes you might say, geez, these jumper cables aren't heavy enough. They just can't carry the current. And what we're talking about is the higher the voltage of your system is, the smaller the wire is necessary to carry that current. So our system is a 48 volt. Now, are we looking at in the future going to 96 volts?
No, not at all. With anything above 48 volts is typically going to be a custom application, whereas that's more towards our lithium department, building custom batteries for higher voltage industrial and large businesses, telecom and whatnot. But for the average homeowner, here in North America, everything is going to run off of 12, 24, 48 volt, which can correlate with 120 and 240. So the 96 wouldn't be necessary. especially as there's no components out there that are designed to work with the inverter's charge controllers. They're not designed to charge a battery that is 96 volts or really any higher than a charge of 66 volts.
Okay. Hunter, is there anything else you'd like to share with us before Jim Vincent gets in behind the microphone talking about code, safety, and permits and inspections?
Yeah, I would just really like to emphasize, Vincent, that for your audience and our customers as well, that to take your time and to educate yourself, call in, ask questions, learn about how these components work together so that you can get a great idea of every component you're going to have for your system and how it works together before you go out and buy something, then have to spend the time, the extra money to return it, then get the other component that's going to work. So, yeah, keep it organized, do some learning, and ask questions.
Hunter, I can tell you that I believe I made 3 or 4 calls before and at length to make sure I fully understood what selections that I had were correct. So that was before the purchase, 3 or 4 calls to help round out my education and upgrade my education. So do you welcome those kinds of calls?
Absolutely. You know, I this is what I do all day, every day, and I enjoy talking with my customers, not only talking with them and learning more about what their goals are, but educating them along the way. And that always feels good that when it clicks in their mind, oh, this is how this works, and this is why these components are necessary. And I am always open to chat all day long and talk about what the customer's goals are and help them achieve these goals of freedom and become an off-grid.
Hunter, is there any charge for this call? You know, when a person calls you, first call, second call, says, here's what I'm thinking about doing. Can I get can I get a little education here? And do you charge for that, or is it free?
Absolutely free, 100%.
There you go. Hunter, thanks so much for spending time with us. Jim Vincent's up next. Jim Vincent, let's talk about safety and code compliance and permits and inspections.
Absolutely, Vincent. Thank you as well. This has been a great segment here today. And Brandon mentioned when he first got started coming from a construction management background, working as a project engineer and project manager, one of the first things they teach you is safety first. And one of the things that we feel here at Iron Edison is that you need to be safe. Make sure that you don't hurt yourself, your property, or your...
When we come back, let's talk about what that means, and we'll talk about code and compliance and building permits and inspections if they're necessary in your neck of the woods. And then Brandon's going to join us, and we've got about 6 minutes of broadcast time left. Class, I'm a survivalist, and my plan is to be independent of everything that I can so that supply chain disruptions have a minimum impact on our family. What's the first thing that you do when the power goes out? I've researched the best value solar energy system that I can find, one that's backed by the technical support necessary for the undertaking. The system's installed and is generating electricity right now with equipment purchased from IronEdison.com. You heard Brandon Williams, CEO of IronEdison.com, right here on USA Prepares. Together, we designed our system. In my opinion, our IronEdison.com system has more features, more value, and more potential than any other system I found. We chose the Snyder Electric system with a hybrid inverter, charge controller, power panel, battery disconnect, and the system control panel. If you want energy independence, as we have, please consider calling the engineering team at IronEdison.com, 720-432-6433, 720-432-6433.
I'm Nick Soboleski, a Select Quote agent with a true story that could save you hundreds of dollars a year. A woman named Linda just called. Her husband, Ray, has a $300,000 group life insurance policy, but is changing jobs and can't take it with him. Well, I impartially shopped the highly rated term life insurance companies we represent and found Ray, who is 41 and takes medication to control his cholesterol, a 10-year, $500,000 policy for under $26 a month. That's almost twice the coverage for less than half of what he had paid. If SelectQuote hasn't shopped for your life insurance, you're probably paying too much.
For your free quote, call 1-800-403-4885. That's 1-800-403-4885. 1-800-403-4885. 1-800-403-4885. Or go to selectquote.com. We shop, you save. Get full details in the example policy at selectquote.com/commercials. Your price could vary depending on your health, issuing company, and other factors. Not available in all states.
Hi, Pat Matthews again. I want to talk to you about selling online. And when I say selling, I'm talking about your home, your car, and even buying a house or a new set of wheels. There's a new kid in town, and that's buysellmakeoffer.com. The revolution has already begun, and I invite you to be a part of it. You see, get in on the ground floor because buysellmakeoffer.com never charges item fees. Can you imagine what the other guys might charge you for selling a car on their site, let alone a house? Well, buysellmakeoffer.com doesn't do that. And you can use Skype and YouTube videos to sell your products, big or small. Go right now to buysellmakeoffer.com and set up your account. For as little as $7.95 per month, you can sell up to 50 items, and they'll give you the first 30 days free just to try it out. Remember, no per item fees. Join the revolution today. buysellmakeoffer.com and tell them Pat Matthews sent you.
For the most amazing, calming, brain-stabilizing, blood sugar, and natural addiction-breaking formula, try CalMind. Anxiety melts, panic is gone, sleep is restful, and you'll stay calm during stress. Better than booze, mind-altering drugs, or anti-anxiety, antidepressant, toxic medications, CalMind lubricates your mind so you'll sail through the day effortlessly. Order Dr. Bill Deagle's Nutridyne at 888-212-8871 or NutriMedical.com and listen to the NutriMedical Report every weekday on the GCN Radio Network. NutriMedical, bringing nutrition and medicine together.
It's no secret that pathogens such as bacteria, viruses, molds, and fungus can inflict severe damage in the human body. Fortunately, a new and vastly improved silver solution has been developed. Supernatural Silver is a revolutionary broad-spectrum antibacterial, antiviral, antifungal solution that can be used inside the body as well as on the skin. Supernatural Silver is unique and superior to colloidal and ionic silvers, using a patented technology that is highly effective against colds, flus, infections, food poisoning, and yeast, in addition to many other pathogens. Supernatural Silver is scientifically supported, extremely safe, and is the #1 choice of thousands of people for immune system support. Find out how Supernatural Silver could change your life. Go to supernaturalsilver.com and use the promo code HEALTHY for 20% off. That's supernaturalsilver.com, and like us on Facebook.
Owe $10,000 or more to the IRS?
Get on board with the Tax Admiral. Don't take on the IRS alone. I'll cut penalties and reduce your overall tax bill. Sometimes I can even get it zeroed out completely.
We're an A-rated company helping people clean up their mess with the IRS.
If you owe $10,000 or more, then call the Tax Admiral.
Call 800-287-7180. Again, that's 800-287-7180. 800-287-7180.
Class, this is a 2-hour special on solar power, and we've been talking with Jim Vincent, and Brandon Williams is behind the microphone as well right now. We're talking about the safety concerns, and safety is first, because we're talking about installing solar panels, which may be on a roof, and we are talking about using electricity. So let's make safety first. Jim Vincent?
Yeah, Vincent, safety first means that you are going to be your own safety system or safety manager. We recommend that you employ licensed electricians or certified solar installers to work with you, at least at the minimum of overseeing your design, working with us as part of that as well. And then we work with those people that you bring to the table to assist you to make sure that you're creating a design that incorporates all the appropriate components. And the key point is we never really want you to work alone either, because going it alone can lead to injury, death, or damage for your equipment or your home. And this is a major investment. But most importantly, we don't want anybody to be hurt. So one of the things we do is we send out ahead of time user guides, install manuals, wiring diagrams. also, if you're working with a certified solar installer or electrician on site, they're going to help you put together packages that you would then take forward for building permits and inspections. And I know a lot of your listeners are really kind of going off grid because they don't want to involve anybody in what they're doing. But it's recommended that you do get a building department permit before installing the system. They're going to make sure that you're adhering to the National Electrical Code, also known as NEC. And these aren't federal law, but they're adopted by the states and local municipalities because they want to standardize safe electrical practices. And if you don't follow those as a homeowner and property owner, you can fall under civil liability lawsuits for loss of life or property. And we don't want that to happen to you.
You're exactly right. Let me. We've got George in Canada. Welcome, George.
Howdy, Vincent. Thanks for taking my call. I heard your host talking about a lithium battery just a little while ago, and I want to set up a small system in my barn for water and light, and I'm just wondering if they could just do a little comparison between the nickel iron and the lithium, the pros and the cons about it.
There you go.
Well, lithium iron is a very exciting product for us right now. We're having a lot of interest in it, and it's been very exciting. And we just really started ramping up our production. The battery itself is a maintenance-free, it's a vent-free battery. That is a huge plus. A lot of people like the concept of 30 years of life. You're going to get about half of that, or about 14 years of life, if you utilize it based on a 50% depth of discharge model. So the price is approximately the same. There is difference in price, but it's fairly similar. But you are getting half of the life, a little less than half of the life out of lithium iron. But again, maintenance-free, vent-free.
Right. Okay, well, I'm going to get in contact with you fellas to find out some more information, and great show. Thank you, Vincent.
You're certainly welcome. And George, that number is 720-432-6433, ironedison.com. 720-432-6433. And class, there'll be many more of these special broadcasts about alternative energy, solar power, batteries, charge controllers, inverters, so forth, because I know a lot of you want to do what we're doing. Wow, that was a very fast 2 hours. Brandon Williams, do you have any final words in the last 20 seconds?
It's been, you can see what an incredible team that we have here at Iron Edison, and we're really excited to be involved with teaching your class these important lessons.
Class, if you were ever wondering why I selected Iron Edison, now you know. Now you know. Now you know. No one was unable to answer any questions, and there's a wealth of information, and you can get personalized attention by dialing 720-432-6433. Brandon Williams and the rest of the team, thank you so much for being with us today in class. How many of you want to learn how to dig up bugs, worms, and raise crickets for food? Do you prefer to eat them dried and crunchy or while still alive? Well, you won't have to if you can defend your food supply from predators. You may want to get an AR-15 kit from guns80.com and build your own AR-15 rifle from a kit. If you can legally own a rifle, you can purchase this AR-15 kit. If you're handy, you can complete the rifle in about an hour. The kit comes with all the parts you're going to need to build your rifle, but you'll need a drill press. And survivalists need one anyway. The Guns80.com team purchased the same used floor-standing drill press that I have for $100. You can too. And when you're finished, you'll have a paperwork-free AR-15 rifle, a drill press, drill bits, and the knowledge to maintain your AR-15 rifle, all for less than you expect. So if you want a paperwork-free AR-15 parts kit like mine, visit Guns80.com, Guns80.com, and let the unprepared have our share of the bugs.
Have you checked your Google search results lately? Search results are usually the first impression that people form of you or your business, so make sure that they create a positive impression with ReputationDefender.com. What the internet says about you can have a big impact on your life and your livelihood, even if it's not true. Fortunately, you can now control how you look online and in online search results with ReputationDefender.com. Call 800-831-0771 now. That's 800-831-0771 for your free reputation analysis. If you have negative material from an ex-employee, upset patient, or former client, newspaper article, legal issue, social media, or other source showing up in your search results, you can combat it with ReputationDefender.com. Our dedicated experts in patented technology can help make your online search results look their best. Call 800-831-0771 to learn more. 800-831-0771. That's 800-831-0771. Or visit ReputationDefender.com.